Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the Neca Megan Ultimate Action Figure. This is based off the movie Megan, where she's sort of an AI robot, sort of child's toy, and ends up being a horror story. I saw this movie pretty recently, and I thought it could be a cool figure for my NECA horror shelf, and she could also double up as a regular civilian and background character as well. I printed this from the Target app. I don't believe it's a Target exclusive, but it's a Target First exclusive and should be available elsewhere soon. So let's take a look at the packaging. As you can see, we have Megan on the front. Megan, Ultimate Action Figure. One side of the package, Megan. Other side, same thing. At the back, here's the figure with a ton of different display options and accessories. At the bottom, there's her barcode, if that helps anybody. This is one of NECA's Ultimate figures. Window box packaging. On the inside flap, there's Megan posed up, and then here she is with all of her accessories. So with no further ado, let's open her up. Alright, now that we have this figure out of the package, here she is with all of her accessories laid out. She has a total of 4 different heads, one of which has 2 faceplates, 6 alternate hands, totaling 8 interchangeable hands, 2 different versions of a blade from a paper cutter, a hammer, a screwdriver, and a nail gun. Before we tailor all that, let's talk about and check out the figure. So this is Megan from the movie Megan. She basically is a robot made to keep children entertained. It's probably going to be very expensive for the rich, and it sort of encourages parents to, leave their kid unattended, entertained by somebody else, keep them out of your hair. In the movie, she became a friend to a little girl whose parents were killed, and she became sort of emotionally attached, and then Megan kind of went out of control and started killing anybody that was doing anything to upset the girl, and then ended up just trying to kill everybody. I believe they're making a sequel. This movie surpassed box office expectations and did pretty well. So let's take a look. I thought she would be good for Megan on my shelf, and she'd also be good for a background character of a child. Now her face looks kind of emotionless and hollow. She's got this big, bow tie type thing on top of her brown dress, striped shirt underneath, single jointed elbow, single jointed knees. She looks pretty good, and she has that emotionless sort of look to her, which is pretty accurate to the film, and of course it would be for a robot. Now things like this are becoming closer and closer to reality, so it's kind of a disturbing film. And a closer look at her face and head sculpt, it looks lifeless, emotionless. It's like she's looking right at you, but almost looking past you, not looking at you. It looks perfect for a way a robot would look, their expression. In addition to that, the hair, the paint job, it's pretty much all on point. And then here's the figure, broken down as far as you can go, with all of her removable parts detached. Now let's check out her accessories. And let's start off with her hands. She has a total of 8 hands, 2 left hands, and 6 right hands. Here's a look at her first pair of hands. This is a pair of default hands. They would look good relaxed at her sides. And then her second pair of hands. This is a pair of gripping hands. Her right hand is a gripping hand with a trigger finger, and her left hand is just a regular gripping hand. And she still has 4 additional right hands. This is another gripping hand, and it almost has sort of 2 trigger fingers, or 2 fingers separated. And then another gripping hand on her right hand. This one has a larger grip. And then another gripping hand. This one has a smaller grip. And here's her final right hand. This one looks exactly like the first one, which I called a default hand. No idea why they would include 2 hands that are identical, or at least super similar like this. Now let's look at her heads. She has 4 of them, 2 kind of regular heads, and then 2 damaged heads. Here's her first head. This is a regular looking head and has kind of a smiling expression. And here's her second head. This one has sort of a monotone expression, no smile. Here's her third head. This one's damaged. Her hair's coming off. She's got a huge cut through her head, and her eyes appear to be leaking. And then she has this last head. This one has absolutely no skin on it and looks pretty creepy as is. This one comes with 2 faceplates. And here's the second faceplate, which appears to be a little bit more damaged, and the left eye is kind of wonky, sticking out to the side. And if you were wondering how this head looked with no faceplate on, here you go. Now let's look at her weapons. So, first of all, she has this, what looks like a machete, but really it was a paper cutter and she just ripped it off. you have both a regular and bloody version of that. Then she has this hammer, just a regular hammer, wooden handle. Then she has this screwdriver. Looks pretty cool. And probably the neatest weapon she has is this nail gun. Here's Megan holding that nail gun. And then here, holding that hammer. And now, holding that blade, ripped off a paper cutter. And finally, holding her screwdriver, which I can see is a flathead. Now that I've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and her accessories, let's check out her height. From bottom to the top of her head, standing about 5.4 inches tall, which can translate to just under 14 centimeters. And for articulation, starting with her head, of course, you can rotate side to side. And then, of course, the hair is going to make that kind of difficult as she has long hair. She looks up and down about that much. Can't really tilt much from one side to the other, maybe the littlest bit. Shoulders on a ball joint, they go out quite a bit less than 90 degrees. Up, down, around. We have no bicep cut. Single jointed elbow, goes in about 90 degrees, maybe a tad less. Rotations there. Her wrists can rotate, and it is hinged. This particular set is hinged up and down. Torso seems to be one solid piece. I can't really tell what's going on inside of there, but she's got a ball joint in her waist. Rotate around, forward and back. Legs, they go out about that far. Ball joints inside of there. Can rotate a little bit against the ball. Single jointed knee, 90-degree bend. Looks like there's rotation there as well. And then her ankle. Forward and back, tilt, rock, and you got the rotation in the knee. Here's a look at Megan sitting across the room, staring at whatever child she's attached to. Kind of similar to the poster of the movie. Now let's check her out next to some action figures, starting off with some other NECA horror figures. Let's check her out with some other smaller NECA horror figures. Here's Megan next to Annabelle. And here she is next to Sam from Trick or Treat. Then, next to both Chucky and Tiffany, here she is next to some classic Universal monster figures. The Wolfman, Frankenstein's monster, Dracula, and the Mummy. She would actually probably work pretty good for the little girl that Frankenstein tried to give flowers to. And here she is next to some more modern horror icons. Jason, Freddy, Michael Myers, and Ghostface Killer. And here she is next to my most recent NECA acquisitions. We have the Scorched Xenomorph from Alien Romulus, the Bio-Exorcist Beetlejuice, the 50th Anniversary Texas Chainsaw Massacre Leatherface, and Ardith Bay from The Mummy. Now let's check her out next to some action figures from different various companies, so we can see how she fits in both scale and style-wise, in case you will know which lines you can mix her with. Since she's a NECA toy, they're typically the 7-inch scale, and even though she's considerably shorter than 7 inches, she's still a 7-inch scale figure. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the larger action figure lines I collect, and we're quite smaller. But first, let's check her out with some of her NECA brothers and sisters. In front of you are 5 different action figures, all from NECA toys, all 7-inch scale. And now, with some Jack-specific wrestling figures, and some Diamond Select toys, here she is, next to a bottle of the new Orange Coke. And here she is, with some McFarlane and DC Direct figures. Then, with both some Mattel and Jazzwares wrestling figures. And now, with some Mezco and Mattel DC figures. Next, with some Mafex and Hasbro Marvel Legends. And finally, with some SH Figure Arts and Jazzwares Fortnite figures. So overall, it's a pretty nice Megan figure. When they came out with the 8-inch cloth retro one, I was disappointed, as I personally prefer these 7-inch Ultimate figures, and that's what this is, so I was really happy they made this release. She's going to be great on my horror shelf, and she's going to be great as a sort of child or background character in a ton of scenarios. Her accessories are good, tons and tons of weapons, tons of alternate looks. Articulation is a little bit limited, but you don't need a super articulated Spider-Man type Megan figure. If I were to rate this figure, I'd give her a good 7 out of 10. I think the expression on her face is great. I feel like the head is maybe sitting a little bit too far down. You can't see her neck at all. But it's a nice release. So this is D Hunter. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional extra figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate if you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.